Shalom. This is Truth is Everlasting. Lion's Den. I am Yahweh Sap. I camp out with Lion Den, Hawan Ben Yeshua in Jacksonville, Florida. But first I have to give a prayer to the Father, to the Son, to the elders, to the Akyans, and to the women and children around the world, and Paleo Hebrew. Kal, Halayim La, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ha Rokah Kwadash Mahama, in the name of Yahweh Shai, in spirit and holy and in truth. Double honors to the 144,000 chosen elect. Double honors to the elders of GMS. Double honors to my elder Hawam. Salutations to the Akyans on the four corners of the earth. And to the women and children, Shalom. Okay, well, you know, things are moving faster and faster every day, and for good reason, okay? It says here, Donald Trump signs an executive order. It says, authorizing mass detention of American citizens, right? They're getting desperate. The Edomites are getting desperate for good reasons, okay? The title of this lesson, The Poor is Hated. Here we go. Play a little bit of it.
Even how to start this video, because all I could to say was, these evil mother. My name is Brittany Page. This is the Page Perspective. Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday, and through this one simple action, he's going to kill people, devastate communities, and make our homelessness crisis much, much worse. I read this executive order in disbelief. Not that this administration would do this, of course. We expect this administration to be callous against evidence-based solutions and eager to criminalize people living in poverty and lock them away. But I continue to be amazed at how far we have fallen and how fast. We're going to go through what you need to know about this, and I'm going to link to all of my sources in the description as always. And I genuinely wish that more people were talking about this, so please share this video with your communities. The executive order, quote, ending crime and disorder on America's streets, builds off of the 2024 SCOTUS decision in Grants Pass v. Johnson that gave the green light to cities eager to punish the homeless for sleeping outside, even when they have nowhere to go. It opened the door for cities to criminalize people living in poverty, to arrest and ticket them for sleeping outside. And according to the ACLU, since that decision, 320 bills have been introduced across the country to criminalize homelessness, and 220 of those bills passed. And a lot of this is built on long-term conservative activism behind the scenes, working to criminalize homelessness, specifically from a conservative group called the Cicero Institute. And through this continued work behind the scenes, we get this executive order where Donald Trump writes in section 1, quote, endemic vagrancy, disorderly behavior, sudden confrontations, and violent attacks have made our cities unsafe. The number of individuals living on the streets in the United States on a single night during the last year of the previous administration, 274,224, was the highest ever recorded. And I want to...
Slakia, before she goes any further, let's not forget you so-called Negros, Latinos, Americans, and speckled birds. When they talk about criminals and Biden and drug users, keep in mind that the Edomites that are in power, who want to keep the information or more information to keep coming out from Epstein, right, of their criminal activity behavior and child trafficking and drug trafficking, right? They have to keep pointing the finger to the poor, right? I mean, yes, we do have poor people that are into criminal activity and illegal drugs, right? But we are living in the world of the wicked, right? Thanks to the Edomites. Okay, let me keep playing it. Slakia.
Pause here to note that it's interesting that the Trump administration is choosing to focus on the count specifically for individuals who were living unsheltered during the point in time count last year, meaning literally on the street, outside, rather than the total number of unhoused, which of course was nearly 800,000 people. a number that is certainly an undercount, by the way, given the exclusion of people who are living in their cars or living in predatory extended stay motels or couch surfing with friends and family, but they don't want to talk about that. No. They don't want to talk about how their policy choices are making life more unaffordable and pushing people closer and closer to the brink of homelessness, or actually shoving them over the edge into homelessness. What do they want to talk about? Well, I'm sure you can guess what's coming next. Quote, the overwhelming majority of these individuals are addicted to drugs, have mental health conditions, or both. Nearly 2/3 of homeless individuals report having regularly used hard drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine, or opioids in their lifetimes. An equally large share of homeless individuals reported suffering from mental health conditions. The federal government and the states have spent tens of billions of dollars on failed programs that address homelessness, but not its root causes, leaving other citizens vulnerable to public safety threats. Right. You know it's always going to come back to some just world hypothesis nonsense, where the people in power try to convince us that the people who are languishing in poverty deserve it, because they made poor choices. They chose to use drugs, you see. They don't want to talk about housing affordability. They don't want to talk about the 53% of people working while living in homeless shelters, or the 40% of unsheltered people working while living on the street. So let's talk about the facts here. Let's turn to the data. Let's look at the research from the largest representative study of homeless people in decades from UC San Francisco. The director of the UCSF Benioff Homelessness and Housing Initiative and senior author of this research, Margot Kushel, says that most people who are homeless are not using drugs regularly. And you'll see here, less than half of people experiencing homelessness regularly used illicit drugs in the prior 6 months. Only around 37% reported regular drug use in the prior 6 months, and 25% had never used drugs at any point in their lifetime. But the two most important things to highlight about this research are, one, the authors noting that homelessness drives drug use because it's actually used as a coping strategy, and two, a significant percentage of people who do report using also report that they have been unable to access treatment. And me referencing these numbers is not me saying, substance use and mental illness are not a problem within the homeless population. Of course, people who are living on the streets are struggling with these issues. Not everyone, but some of them, yes. Just like people who are housed. Because drug use and mental health conditions are not only struggles for the homeless. But what should we do to solve those problems? Invest in a police infrastructure that will throw them into cages? No. You just heard from that research that many people who struggle with substance use on the street are not able to access treatment. Now, I wonder why that might be. Could it be a policy choice?
Sulakia, you know how it is with YouTube. Give me a minute.
It's making you
It's
sick.
getting closer
Just
to the
hear me
point
out.
that
I use tap water.
want
I
you
wonder
to
why
hear
that
about.
might be. Could it be a policy choice? Could it be a funding issue? Could it be that, as we see in the Washington Post reporting, quote, the Trump administration has slashed more than $1 billion in COVID-era grants administered by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration?
What?
And is proposing to slash hundreds of millions more?
There we go. So they're not really interested in helping, right, the poor. Okay, and they're showing that interest in helping the so-called Negros, Latino Americans, and speckled birds, right? All this is being done because they want to bring the population down, even the middle-class Edomites and poor Edomites. Okay, they want to bring everyone down to their knees because they have to get ready for what's coming. You see? The cashless society is around the corner, right? And they have to also bring in the MOTV. They have to turn people into cyborgs because they know that Yahweh Shai is coming back. I want to go to Proverbs chapter 14, verse 20. And it says, The poor is hated even of his own neighbors, but the rich has many friends. How you like that, right? So if you're not filthy rich, right, well, you're going to be hated. You know, they've been teaching our people in their indoctrination Edomite schools and 501c3 incorporated churches, right, to love everyone, right? Where's Vocab Malone talking about this, right? Where is he? Anyway, you know, the Edomites, and I'm talking about the ones that are in power, right? They know, because through the work of the Hebrew Israelites in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? We keep reminding our people, the so-called Negros, Latino Americans, and speckled birds, and everyone that's listening to us, besides, you know, our people, that the Edomites are standing in stolen land. So of course, maybe this woman is an Edomite and maybe she's not. She could be a Jake, right? But they're not going to come out and say, listen, we are standing in stolen land. We all, Edomites, have to go back and leave this place. They're not going to do that. So what's the next thing? They have to bring the population down. They have to bring the people down to their knees, right? So then that way they can mandate the charagma, right? When they talk about that the poor people have mental problems, the Edomites have been having mental problems, especially the ones in power, right? I want to go to Proverbs chapter 19, verse 7. Give me a minute. Okay. All the brothers of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursues them with words, yet they are wanting to him. Right? They don't want him. Right? They don't want us around. How many times my own people tell me, man, you go in the highways and byways? All you got is words, man. That don't mean nothing. That don't do anything, right? Since they're now called to do the work in the name of Yahweh Shai, they don't understand. They have no understanding, right? That it all starts with the word before it manifests into reality. But the Edomites understand this, right? And since people around the world of their own kind have woken up to, wait a minute, you know, they're screwing their own kind around the world. And since our people, so-called Negros, Latino, American, and speckled birds, are around the world, well, you know, the Edomites here in so-called America have to give it an example and understand that they're fighting for power of technology as well. Okay? They want to control the whole world, right? I want to go to Psalm chapter 38, verse 11. My lovers and my friends stand aloof from my sword, and my kinsmen stand afar off. Yeah, even our own family. All because we are called to the truth and speak the truth. Right? So this is nothing new. We see very clear what the Edomites that are in power are doing. They're getting ready, and they have to move faster because their time clock in heaven is ticking, and they know that they only have a short time, right, to get ready when Yahweh comes back. They have to have cyborgs, human cyborgs, right? So while the Edomites in power go high under the ground, they have human cyborgs fight their battle. Verse 12, they also that seek after my life lay snares for me, and they that seek my hurt speak mischief things and imagine deceit all day long. And that's what they're doing, right? They're coming after our people, after us, in every direction, right? They're making executive orders one after another, right? If you look this way, okay, well then he's not from here. If he has an accent, okay, he's not from here. But the so-called Negros, Latinx, and speckled birds are from here. You see? So they're going to become more aggressive in every direction. It's what I want to say. I want to go to Proverbs chapter. Let me go back to 14, verse 7. Okay, go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest, give me a minute here, not in him the lips of knowledge. See? So that's what we do. Now, not making a crime for people that are living in the streets, right? When history shown that our people have been living in the wilderness, freely, right? No problem. I mean, that's not a complicated thing to do. Hard times hit because of the Edomites. If you look into the history, starting from Rome, right? If you want to go further, you can do that with AI. You're going to find out that the reason that people are in the streets is because the greediness of the Edomites. Remember, Job chapter 9, verse 26? The earth is given to the hands of the wicked, right? This is not our kingdom. They want to keep on stealing. That's what it is. They don't like the idea that people have woken up all around the world who they are and what they are doing. Verse 8, the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his ways, but the folly of fool is deceit. And that's what's going on. The Edomites are the criminals. The Edomites are the ones that are committing massive level of genocide worldwide. Why do you think they pollute the air, the water, the food, and the land? Right? Why do you think people get sick? Why people are going into, how she said it? Illegal drugs, and the treatments that they used to give people are to bring them into legal substance. That's not helping them at all. So they're going to remove these programs, right, that people already are used to, or only believe or only know that that's the only solution, right? And I'm talking to my people, so-called Negros, Latinx, and speckled birds, when they should be repenting with fear and trembling and come back to Yahweh Shai, right? For healing, for mercy, for protection, right? For courage. I want to jump to verse 31, Salakia. He that oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he that honors him has mercy on the poor. Right? Well, they're not going to have mercy on us. Right? We are living in the time of the end of this kingdom, meaning, right, that the Edomites are increasing more death worldwide than ever before. So knowing that and seeing that, right, our people should be preparing their heart, their mind, coming back to who they really are, and repenting with fear and trembling, to have the strength and courage to face what's about to come. Verse 32. The wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous has hope in his death. See? We have to face reality. There's going to be a lot of people dying, especially in our side of people as well. So-called Negros, Latinx, and speckled birds. Job chapter 13, verse 15. Edomites want us to stop talking about Yahweh Shai and stop doing the work. Verse 15, though he slays me, yet will I trust in him. but I will maintain my own ways before him. And this is what the Edomites don't want. They don't want us to keep trusting in the name of Yahshua Shai. Okay? They want us to bow down to them, to worship them, to die for them, to protect them, to take the Karagma and turn to cyborg and fight the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, 10 feet tall, dark-skinned Afro. Huh? Come on, man. Wake up, Jake. Verse, give me a minute. Where was I? I was at 15, right? I want to go to Psalm 23. Salaki, I had to pause here for a minute. Psalm 23, chapter 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, thy comfort me. This is where we are, right? This is how bad and ugly things are going to get. Let me go back to Job chapter, what I said? 13, right? Verse, oops. I go to 16. Verse 16. He also shall be my salvation, for an hypocrite shall not come before him. Right? So we got to be careful with our own people, man, who are going to betray us. Right? I mean, it is what it is, okay? I want to go to Job chapter 8, verse 13. So are the path of all that forgot Yahweh. And the hypocrite's hope shall perish. The Edomites, that are in power, are not going to give up the technology nor the blessing that was given to them by Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. They're going to fight to the end with fear and trembling. Why? With fear and trembling? Because Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is going to make them fight. Okay? Whether they like it or not. Then we go back to Job 14. No, Salakia, 13. Verse 17. Hear diligently my speech and my declaration with your ears. Verse 18. Behold now, I have ordered my cause. I know that I shall be justified. We know we're going to be justified no matter what is going to come to us from these wicked Edomites that are in power. Okay? As long as we have the strength in the name of Yahshua Yahushua, we will not bow down. Yes, some of us are going to be thrown to FEMA camp. Some of us are going to be beheaded. Okay? But the same way that the Edomites are bold to give their life for wickedness, we give our life in the name of Yahshua Yahushua in righteousness. Whoa, give me a minute. I'm going to go now to, I'll leave it with Song 112. So that's what I'll do. Keep it short. Song, I said 112, chapter 10. I'll leave it with this. The wicked shall see it and be grieved. He shall gnash with his teeth and melt away. The desire of the wicked shall perish. Yeah. When they see that humongous massive chariot, which they call UFO, coming down from heaven with the host of angels, or army of angels, right? They're going to know that game is over, that their kingdom is going to be removed from the face of the earth forever. And that the blessing of the sword is going to be taken away from the Edomites, and that they're going to slavery for 1,000 years. I hope that this was edifying. And with that I'll say, Shalom.